I can answer the question, Judge. You can't handle the truth.
I ate his liver with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
Rubs the lotion on its skin or else gets the hose again.
Welcome to After Hours AM, The Criminal Code, with your hosts, Joel Sturgis, Eric Olson, and Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And good evening, everybody. Welcome to this edition of After Hours AM, The Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis, right along with me,
Eric Olson and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And Dr. Cole is burning for you.
Yeah, practically. Oh, man. Yeah, anybody who hasn't heard, I can't imagine there wouldn't be anybody that hasn't heard at this point, but the it's called the campfire. It started on Camp and Palaga Roads up here, which is why it's called that. The campfire started about a week ago and has burned 130,000 acres, 7,000 homes, 50 confirmed dead, and hundreds more missing. If you're looking for anybody, by the way, I just wanted to let people know that the official list of the missing is now up on websites like CBS, ABC.
That's scary. That's scary. And how did that California fire even start? Did they say how? What was the ignition?
They're still doing a quote unquote investigation, but do we know how it started? Yes. It started the same way that some of the other really horrific, deadly fires started out here. Our power company, PG&E, Pacific Gas and Electric, they don't keep up. I'm just going to say, I don't care if they do sue me. They don't keep up their lines well. They don't. They are a huge conglomerate. They're a monopoly out here on the West Coast. Nobody else can compete with them. Huge billion-dollar corporation, and they do not keep their lines up. So in these mountainous areas like Paradise was, they had some really, bad lines that were in ill repair that customers were actually calling about days before the incident occurred.
So what kind of penalty does a company like that face? I mean, there's loss of life, there's... You would think that this kind of loss would bankrupt them as a company.
Yeah, they're saying that it's going to bankrupt them, but even with penalties, they're only looking at several billion, and they're worth at least $40 billion at last check. They could do it, and I want them to do it. I don't want them to go bankrupt. I am tired of this. Last year the Atlas fire was caused by them. The Tubbs fire may have been caused by them. Hundreds of lives lost. Customer safety is our first priority. Right.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Yeah.
It never has been. And besides, with the fires last year, or 2017 fires, they just jacked up people's rates to pay for those lawsuits. So, welcome to PG&E.
Insult to injury, raising the rates to cover for the dead.
Yeah, that's no secret. But what I was telling Joel off air really quickly is that when I was looking to buy a house out here, Henry and I were looking around, and I actually looked in Paradise, Magalia. That's the two towns that are up there, and I ended up getting one in a different town a little ways away. And I just can't. Only 10% of the structures in Paradise are left standing.
That is just wow. Why does it seem like California is such a tinderbox? I mean, always, every year it's burning up.
Well, climate change, honestly. It is climate change. I know that the president likes to burn, to
blame,
talk about the Forest Service and say that he's going to withhold federal aid, which is such a mature thing to do, especially when people are dying. But no, Forest Service maybe, but it's really because of the climate change. We're supposed to be in the middle of our rainy season right now. Mm-hmm. Where is it? Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
where is it? We never had these fire problems in the north before. Now, southern was kind of a different story. That's more desert. It always has been.
Sure.
Yeah, it's semi-arid, and you have the Santa Ana winds blowing hot and dry.
Through a lot of grassy areas. Eric, you're more familiar with that area, I think, than I am. But northern Northern California is not like that. It's very hilly, very mountainous, lots and lots of water. All the water for the entire state of California, in fact, is up here. So it's not a water problem. It's the fact that we are not getting rain.
So everybody that's listening,
pine forests.
Yeah, everyone that's listening, pray for rain. Just intentionally, just pray for rain. Let's see if we can't get some rain started for California. They need it.
Yeah, it was a really rough weekend for me. I'm about knock on wood, I'm about 20 miles from where the fire is, and the smoke is so bad outside that you're not supposed to go outside without wearing a breathing mask, rated N95 or above. So no, that's not just a regular paper type mask. Do not wear those. It's not enough. There's particulate in the air. It's dangerous for any living thing, including animals. And I went out to get like air filters, for the air purifiers.
Yeah, the HEPA filters, yeah.
Yeah, HEPA. Every store in town, I found 2. They were all sold out. And there were huge crowds of people, in certain places, not the hardware stores, but like the, Walmart type stores, Target, places like, and I'm like, why are there so many people? Like, I just wasn't getting it. And then I realized that they were people that had come down from those communities and they were looking to buy, like, the underwear and sock sections of those stores were sold out. They need clothes. They just need basic stuff.
That is so incredibly sad. These poor people, and the refugees is really what they are. Natural disaster refugees.
They are. They're refugees coming down from that area. And Paradise was not a huge town, but it wasn't super small either. I mean, 30, 40,000 people.
Well, that's a lot. You have an extra 30 or 40,000 people influx into your city, and you're not ready for it. That's a real burden on the infrastructure.
Oh God! I mean, I felt bad for like the store managers and the people working the counters. They were calling people from at home, like, please come in. We need more checkers. We need more merchandise, like going in the back, dragging out boxes. And I've seen cars drive by with the paint blistered.
I bet you
that's how close their cars were to the fire.
I was going to say, I bet you FEMA's all over it, right? They're everywhere. FEMA. They're all helping her. FEMA. No, they're supposed to be right there, aren't they? I mean, that's their job.
What? There isn't. No, in fact, Donald Trump didn't release federal money for the helicopters that drop water until the day after Paradise burned. So, thanks for that.
Oh,
yeah.
Day late and a dollar short.
He tweeted about it, that he was such a magnanimous president. Well, first he threatened that he would never give another dollar to California again unless we got our forest management together. And then he got the news that, hey, lots of people died last night. And then he released the funds, even though the state of California had requested them 24 hours earlier, and it could have helped. We didn't get the water carriers until 24 hours after.
Dang.
The fire is only 30% contained at this point.
Wow.
30%.
And depending upon which way the wind blows, I mean, unfortunately, Clarissa, you could actually be in the crosshairs.
It's coming this way, actually. Yeah, there's one town before me, before my town, and so we're on notice. Like I said, can't go outside without respirators. Everybody's supposed to be filtering their air. The water's not safe. Nothing is safe at this point. And then you've got the president tweeting about how forest management is terrible. Like, are you kidding me? People died. I have an entire town full of refugees, like you said, Joel, that are here to buy underwear, water.
A question just hit me on Facebook. What did they do at prisons when a wildfire like this happens? Should it hit a federal prison or a state prison? What do they do to the prisoners? Did they let them die, or do they evacuate the prison? And if so, what's the protocol?
That's a great question. We have not really had one that has been directly in the path yet. I mean, knock on wood, we haven't had one. We do have, plans in place. I know that just because I know they always have logistical plans for hostage crises and all this other stuff. They would be moved. My guess is that they would have huge caravans of buses moving them to out-of-state private prisons, because we don't have the room here in California. They would have to move them out of state. I mean, that's the only, the things I worry about more, because I know the prisoners would get out. Our infrastructure is pretty good for that, to be honest. What I'm more worried about are things like private nursing homes and stuff. They've had a lot of trouble.
Oh, sure. Now that you mention it, nursing homes and stuff like that. Yeah.
Hospitals.
Yeah.
Because they're not mobile. Like, you think about people that need to be on machines, like 24/7. What do they do?
Yeah.
It's hard. It's hard to get the battery packs for things like that.
Look what happened in Puerto Rico.
And I mean, it was like that with the last fire. And actually, the community of Paradise had a lot of elderly residents. It was more of a retirement community, which I love, by the way. I just do. I'm not like one of these party all the time people. So I was all about that. But a lot of them did have ailments, and they couldn't really get out quickly. And some of the videos that I have seen are some of the worst things I have ever seen. I mean, with people's ability to do Facebook Live now, some of the people that posted videos we now know did not get out. They weren't posted after the fact. They were posted during, and the vast majority of the deceased are in cars that are lined up on the road, and they couldn't get out.
Yeah, you're explaining to me before we went on air that Paradise only has one road in and one road out. So
yeah, there are roads like kind of from the north, like around the sides of the mountain, but that's the direction the fire was coming from. So to the south, there's only one major thoroughfare, one highway into Paradise and Magalia, and it's a mountain community. Like if that road is blocked, there's nowhere to go. There's no way to get out.
Again, everybody, pray for rain. Pray for soaking, horrible deluge rain just to get this fire out, but then stop. We don't want mudslides, but just enough to get this thing under control. And also pray that the winds calm down so it stops moving that fire so quickly. So again, pray. And of course, you can keep up to date with Clarissa over there on Facebook and over at thecriminalcode.com. But Clarissa's an avid Facebooker, so if you would like to any updates from Clarissa, her safety, I know people are already asking, gosh, she's got to get back to Wisconsin, get back to Madison, and where it's safe, but that's where you live and that's where you work. So you'll keep everyone posted, mainly via Facebook, right, Clarissa?
Yeah. And I'm one of these people that is either going to bail real early.
I would too.
You know what I mean?
I'm
gonna bail real early, or like in the case when the Oroville Dam was kind of threatened, we thought like maybe there was a deluge coming, like when we saw the cars on the road. So there's no way, like they're not going anywhere. It's just gridlock traffic. We're gonna wait until the traffic dies down and then go. But in case of a fire, you've got to go right away. So
go now.
Yeah, it's been kind of a scary week, but other than that, things are all right.
Wow. Well, Clarissa, hopefully you're safe. Eric, man, you lived out that way as well. So do you remember being kind of that way even when you were a kid there growing up?
Yeah, but to a much lesser extent. I mean, my brother lives in Lake Elsinore, and that's just south of L.A., and it was just the last round of fires. It was just a month or two ago. His house, it was blocks from being burned to the ground, toasted. He just absolutely lucked out. Heroic effort. You were talking about the water dumpers, and they even had the planes, coming through, and all kinds of people, putting themselves in peril. Basically, save their town, but all around the town. That started in a camp as well, literally in a camp, and that was arson. That one was. So, I mean, it's terrible, and it's certainly very relevant and brave of you that we are addressing arson this evening. And, I mean, wow, it's amazing stuff. No, it is picked up. I am from the right on the border between San Pedro and Palos Verdes, and it is certainly, semi-desert, as is all of Southern California. It's right near the ocean. Maybe it's a little bit damper due to the sea breezes, but I cannot recall a fire that came to us. Usually it's more in the foothills and the slightly more rural, semi-rural areas that are overgrown. Because it's desert, you get all kinds of desert-like brush, you get tumbleweeds, you get all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. And what happens is when it's the rain, when the rains come, then they grow, and they grow like crazy. Then the rest of the time, everything gets dried out. So you just have all of this kindling, this tinder, just sitting right there. So that's bad. It happens up in Malibu, happens in the Hollywood Hills, where I was, not so much. I'm sure they've had fires in the more open areas of Palos Verdes, but When I lived there, that was not the case. But it just, as Clarissa said earlier, I mean, there's just kind of no way around it. Mm-hmm. We are seeing more of this thing due to climate change.
Yeah. And negligence in the power company. Let's not forget that.
Oh, totally. I mean, it's to know that, at least 3 now extraordinarily deadly fires have been caused by the same power company. I'm surprised they are still in business.
Big business rules all. Greed drives everything.
Yeah. Yes, it
does. It truly does.
And by the way, if somebody says, "Oh, it's a big country out there, and it's too much to deal with," well, I was out of power up in the Reading area for almost 2 weeks because of one down power line in the Shasta region because of, oh, God forbid, like 2 inches of snow. 2 weeks I had no power. In Wisconsin, where it was 80 below wind chill, they had that thing fixed in about 4 hours.
Oh, yeah.
So don't tell me.
Yeah, Midwest.
Don't tell me that it can't be done, okay?
Nothing stops them in the Midwest, man.
No.
It's back up and running in hours, sometimes minutes.
People die. People die without heat.
Yeah. In fact, right now I'm looking at outside at a snowy weather, and we are having January weather right now in November. And yes, certain death outside your door if that heater goes off. It's no longer working. Anyhow, it is time for dun 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 is the True Crime Headlines, brought to you by thecriminalcode.com. It's a one-stop shop for all things true crime, including reading and getting to interact with, well, not yours truly, but yours truly, as in Dr. Clarissa Cole. Again, that's thecriminalcode.com.
All right. I've got some weird stories this week. I was looking for some patently funny stories, as I do, right? But there are some stories I wanted to touch on just because I'm kind of having a, like, what the heck sort of moment with a couple of them. Like, did you guys see that high school picture from Baraboo, Wisconsin?
No, I did not see the Baraboo. Okay, yep, Zekai. You mean the Nazi Hitler salute?
Yeah, like, what is going on? Okay, first of all, I'm from Wisconsin, and this is honestly one of the first times, despite all the serial killers we've had, it's one of the first times that I'm embarrassed.
Despite the serial, we're fine with serial killers.
Yeah, we're all right with that. They're overachievers and all. Like, no, I'm embarrassed because of this stupid high school. I'm embarrassed for one of the first times in my life to be from Wisconsin. It's, in case all of you didn't see this viral, I guess, photo. It's a pre-prom photo that I guess they do in Baraboo. Like, before prom, they all get together in a big group and somebody takes a picture. Sure. And so it's all these guys in suits, which, okay, first of all, this confuses me. If it's a pre-prom photo, why are they all guys? Like, where are the women? True. Do they not have dates?
They're off taking their own picture. It's the group shot. Yeah,
but why wouldn't they be with their I'm still confused. Like, why would you separate the anyway?
They would also have taken a picture with their dates.
Yeah,
I see. Yeah, okay, so they were doing the boys' photo, I guess, because apparently the girls were not doing this. So it's probably 50 or 60 kids, and they are doing their junior prom photo, and it looks really suspiciously like they're doing a Nazi salute. Pretty sure they are.
It looks pretty much like either that or they're big Pink Floyd fans from The Wall. Like I had
I'm sure they thought it was funny. We've talked about this before. These kids, people under, I don't know what, certainly 20, but maybe even 30. They just don't have any conception anymore about the realities of World War II and what happened and what the Nazis did and what fascism did. It wasn't just the Nazis. It was in Italy as well. Mm-hmm. And it was the Japanese as well. It was all fascism. What did that do to the world? Tens of millions of deaths because of this ideology.
Yep.
And because we are now, 70 years removed from it, it isn't real anymore. It's just, that's the past. That's history.
Yeah.
That's not real. And, I was just talking to my wife about this last night. I was born only 13 years after the end of World War II. So it's not as if I, lived through it or anything, but it was still very fresh. It was very real, and when I was a kid.
Yeah, but you're absolutely correct. There is a disconnect because it was so long ago, and it's just one of those things that maybe people think can just never happen again. In the back of their minds, I don't quite understand it because I've always been of the ilk of we forget our history, we're doomed to repeat it, and it sure seems like some of us have forgotten our history and on how devastating the World War II and the Third Reich and that ideology truly was.
Yeah, I mean, I do totally understand what you guys are saying, but remember how this photo was captioned, right? Did you see the caption that the original poster wrote on this photo? No. I'm going to quote because I don't want to be. These are not my words. Okay, this is the quote from what was posted. "We even got the black kid to throw it up." Oh. His hand. So don't tell me they don't know the significance of it. I think they do.
Yeah.
Oh, they do. They do.
Why would they? Why would they have said that?
They do intellectually, but they don't emotionally.
Well, I would say that maybe not knowing history is an excuse, but like I'm more far removed from WW2. I'm certainly more removed from it than that, and I sure as heck knew in high school that was wrong. And I am not very far from Baraboo. And there was a kid that came forward who didn't participate. He's in the photo. He's in the background of the photo. He's not doing it. And he said, in that moment, I was uncomfortable. I was very hurt. I was very scared for the future. It was wrong. It shouldn't be okay. And it's not okay. So I just have a question for all those parents of these kids. What are you doing? Because you're doing something really, really wrong.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I am going to blame the parents on this one.
Yeah,
I don't usually do that, but this is unreal. I'm sick about it, absolutely sick. And the photographer said, "Oh, I asked them to wave. I said that they should wave at their parents." Okay, that's not how anyone interpreted it.
No,
that's not how the kid who didn't participate interpreted it. And I would like to say that yes, they are waving goodbye to any shot of a meaningful future.
Yeah.
I hope that
I hope you're right.
I hope that every college admissions committee in the country takes a look at this photograph, looks at the students that applied from Baraboo, and look to match up a face or a name, because God forbid they do something once they get to college that's similar in ilk to this, that is racist in some way. You knew what they were.
They did. And Wisconsin, though, just a side note, has a huge concentration of German Americans.
It does, but I mean, like, even my adoptive grandparents, they spoke German.
No, but they should know. I mean, that really should have been taught. Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was if there's any state that they should be talking about WW2 because of the people that fled Germany, that would be the state, because that's where a lot of them ended up.
And I should add, you guys, I wasn't defending it. In any way, shape, or form. I wasn't saying it's okay. I was just trying to explain it. That's all. I'm saying, because you and I and any other rational adult would say, how can this be? Where did this come from? Do they not understand? And I think part of it, too, is it's just selfie culture. It's just another meme. It's just another meme. You see?
Could it possibly be, though, dumb kids being dumb kids?
Well, of course.
You know what I mean?
For a lot of them, it probably was. I guess the reason that I was kind of like arguing back against that is because the original poster made that horrible comment, right? And the original post was on a private account that some other person got access to. They copied the picture and shared it. So they knew the picture was wrong enough not to share it to the public, and they had that horrible comment with it. So I guess I'm saying that a great number of the kids in this photo knew it was wrong. They knew it was societally wrong, that it was shameful, but they did it anyway, and they considered it funny. It's like that type of person, to me, does not belong anywhere, at least in my future. I mean, maybe as like nothing wrong with this profession, but maybe as a janitor. I certainly don't want them running anything.
Wow, Clarissa. Wow.
Hey, man, I have no tolerance. I live in an extremely multicultural community here. And I love it. And I love seeing all the kids that come to the local park here and play together and they don't think anything of race. And then when you see kids that are 3 times as old as those kids that go to the park doing something like this, they have no place in my community. They have no place.
I agree. I agree.
The world.
That kind of conduct is deplorable, absolutely horrible, and should not be tolerated in any form.
I don't want to tolerate it. I don't think they should go to college. I think they should be expelled from the school. I don't think the photographer should ever be used for anything school related.
Wow, firing squad is what you're saying.
But that is how I feel about it. I feel like there should be zero tolerance. The fact that there is tolerance in this country for that stuff these days, it's a problem.
Well, now,
Big problem.
Now I know the First Amendment would not cover this because it is hate speech.
No, it's hate speech.
It doesn't cover that. But I'm going to be devil's advocate here. And it's really hard to be devil's advocate because I think what they've done was absolutely horrible. But on the other side, I'm thinking, well, they're kids, okay? Now, do we blame the kids or do we blame the adult influences that allowed that to happen?
Ooh, both.
I pick both. I pick C.
Yes,
because
both.
I reject your binary question.
And I'll give you both. Both of them suck.
Yay! Good idea. Yes, I pick both. I don't think there's. I mean, I would hope that a parent would be just as appalled, And I think there's obviously. I'm sure there were some parents that were appalled.
I would hope
because
so.
a lot of this was probably peer pressure, for some people. So
find the ringleader and have a trial for him like a Nuremberg style.
Yeah, I'm totally all right with that. Yeah, I'd like you to answer for this. Because, this is one of these things that, I did stupid stuff when I was a kid. It wasn't hate-based. I didn't do stuff like this, I'd be embarrassed of some of my old high school plays making it on the internet just because I wasn't maybe very good,
Sure.
That I wouldn't be happy with. But did I take any, hate-based photos or hate speech or anything? No.
No, that is horrible, and it will not be tolerated. And I hope that, at the very least, these children, because that's what they are, they are children, learn the lesson about tolerance, and more importantly, well, I shouldn't say more importantly, and history and what that signifies. That salute, of all the horrible atrocities that signifies. Okay, moving along. Where would you like to go next?
All right. So there are some very odd sort of crimes coming up that are related to very little things. Do you ever see somebody just get weirdly outraged over something very, very small?
Yes, I have.
No reason.
I have.
Yeah.
Yes. Several times.
So recently, and this is actually kind of disturbing if you look this up. There's a link to it on ABC. There is a woman in, I think it's Santa Ana, California, who came in the back door of a McDonald's and started beating and choking the manager because they didn't give her enough ketchup at the drive-thru.
Well, I have seen people go crazy when they haven't got enough mayo packets, but never over ketchup.
I love ketchup, though. Ketchup is kind of important. It
is an important condiment, don't get me wrong, but normally they're stingier with the mayo than the ketchup.
In the hierarchy of condiments.
So you're saying mayo is over ketchup?
Well, I would say because for price. Not for flavor, but for price. Generally speaking, mayo would be your more higher end.
You have Joel on the defensive here. He doesn't know what to do next.
Yeah, right. No, but ketchup.
At any moment.
Right? Because I go to a fast food restaurant with a certain woman that I will not name here on air, and she asks for mayo packets each and every time. When they only pull me up 2 or 3, she's almost despondent. I'm gonna go up there and I'm gonna get some more.
That's how I feel about Jack in the Box dressing for the Southwest salads. First of all, sell that stuff. Why do you not sell it? Why can't I buy any?
Because
God. I mean, they'll give you more than one, but I just want to buy it. I just want it on my own.
Okay, so this lady goes nuts because she didn't get enough ketchup?
Yeah, like really nuts, though. I mean, she's actually choking. Like,
wow.
She pushed, punched, and choked. Like, there's a video because they have the cameras in the back, of McDonald's. So, like, there are multiple views of this attack.
That would only be acceptable if it was the last packet of ketchup.
Well, I don't. Maybe it was. They didn't say.
The very last on Earth. The last one. That only time
on Earth.
Yeah, the only time a brawl would be acceptable is if it was the very last ketchup on Earth.
But like my favorite part of this video is that, okay, so there's one person, the manager, who is getting literally choked, right? And then you've got the fast food worker who is at the window, manning the window, and she's trying to save her coworker from dying. She still gives the person at the window their change.
What?
And then rejoins the brawl. Yeah.
So they stop to. That just tells you how much they enforce the point of sale at that fast food restaurant. No matter what's happening here, there could be certain death going on right behind you. You will give correct change. There is no exceptions.
Yeah, she's in the middle of a brawl where someone's getting choked out, and she's like, "Hold on a minute!" She like runs to the window, gives the change to this person. Yeah, it's one of the best videos you might ever see. So go to ABC
good
News
Lord.
and check that out. They still have not identified her yet either. She's on the loose.
The ketchup bandit is on, on the run.
She is. She's on the loose. She didn't get enough ketchup. So that was interesting, I thought. And then there was another one out of Florida.
Ah, yes, Florida.
Yes, she is. She found out the hard way that 911. I didn't know this, by the way. Did you know that they don't arrange Uber rides?
No, I did not. I would have thought that would have been the first place I'd call for an Uber. Would be 911.
Right?
Hey,
you have the number. It's easy.
It's easy to remember.
Apparently, they don't. Yeah.
Reminds me one time I told someone, call 911. What's the number?
Are you serious?
Yes. I'm dead serious. Yes.
Well, I've seen something similar. Call 911. The person then shouted out, 911! So this apparently happened in Palm Beach, Florida. Yes. A woman named Emily Powell, 32. She was having difficulty arranging an Uber. Right. Mm-hmm. So she calls. I don't know why she was having difficulty, but some people are technologically challenged. Right. So
sure.
She's waiting to figure out this Uber thing. And then she flagged down a passing squad car in Boca Raton to help her request an Uber. And the officers were really awesome about it. They, I guess they weren't doing anything else. So they're like, oh, OK, we'll help you figure out. They help her.
Sure.
She gets in an Uber and then she calls 911 again from inside the Uber driver's car to ask for water.
Wow.
Well, it depends on how parched she was. It might have been an emergency.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, she doesn't look like she's inches from death in her mugshot, but...
Hello, 911. This Uber driver insists on running the heat in this car. It's so hot. Oh, I need some water.
I've been in here for 30 seconds. It's terrible.
Oh, my heavens.
It's a real emergency. It's not a fake one like the Uber thing.
I know. Like, it was what was going on there. It was very interesting. So, yeah, she's it's a misdemeanor. She could get $1,000.
Oh, man, that's a lot. You could buy a lot of water for $1,000.
Right? I know. So that's kind of sad. And, I don't know why this strikes me as one of the funniest things I've ever read, and I do actually apologize to the victim for saying that, but it really is I laughed out loud. A man is denied bail after trying to throw his partner overboard.
I mean, trying, so he didn't actually complete the act.
No, he didn't. So you hear about these cruise ship deaths, which are awful, right? Because it's
horrible.
A huge,
I think a Castaway.
Ship. Yeah, it's a huge ship. There's no way they would hear it or see it. If you get thrown overboard and it's in the water, like what jurisdiction is it? You never find the body most of the time. So these murders are awful. And it seems like we're hearing about them, on a more frequent basis. So there was a 5-night cruise to Tasmania that ended with a man behind bars for allegedly trying to throw his partner off the balcony and into the sea. He just didn't succeed in getting her over the balcony.
Oh, she fought back, did she?
She did, and people heard screaming, and an alarm went off. It was at 3:30 a.m. People heard of it. So people in adjoining rooms, right? They could hear this vicious argument.
Yeah.
And they, and I guess some sort of alarm went off eventually. And so he basically attempted to murder her. He just didn't get her overboard. And I keep thinking to myself, I'm like,
he just sucked at it.
He was horrible.
How do you explain that, right? Like
Yeah.
after you're fighting, you try to get him off the balcony, you realize it's not going to happen, or you're like, no, I was just kidding.
You're getting out of here.
Like-
Go for a walk.
I mean, how uncomfortable was the rest of that cruise? Like, what do they do with you? I don't understand. How does this work?
They lock you in a broom closet and they feed you pancakes and taunt you with making you watch.
Is there like a brig?
Making you watch the Poseidon Adventure over and over and over.
Shelley Winters is.
Yeah, I just saw that actually. My mother was watching it, and I sat down and thought, "Wow, this is oh no, oh really, oh." And then the movie was over. I watched the whole thing.
Yeah. It was not a bad movie. The Gene Hackman version, the original, is much better than the remake. By the way, the remake.
Oh yeah, that was the one we were watching.
Yeah,
naturally.
yeah. You got the Gene Hackman one, not the newest remake one with. I even forget the names. I can't remember who was in it. It was that forgettable. I think it was
Shaw.
Yeah, it was. Kurt Russell was in that one. He was in the remake.
Was it?
So yeah, it was Kurt Russell. But anyhow, yeah. And so the guy goes to throw his wife, girlfriend, whoever it was, over the side of the boat, and of course alarms ensue. Probably spotlights come on. And did he try to run away? I mean, where would he run to? I was just kind of curious of where he might run to.
Who's running where? What's going on here?
Exactly. I think that we lost Dr. Cole.
It would appear so. All right. What was the last thing said, and what were you asking about running?
No, I was just curious.
I will answer.
It's
You
not
go back
like
to
he had anywhere
up.
to run to.
No, he had nowhere to run, nowhere to hide.
So it would appear that Dr. Cole is not able to join us at the moment, but we'll get her back up and running as soon as we
Let's
can.
reconvene with her.
Well, we will reconvene. We got a little bit more time to kill. How we go to break, and I'll try to hook that back up. I'll try to get her. Oh, there she is. Thank God. We thought maybe the flames got to you.
No. I wasn't thrown overboard either. I was just going to reveal.
God.
I was going to reveal the name of the guy.
Oh, because you were like gone. You had us all worried. We thought you were thrown overboard and you had to go. You walk the plank.
No, I was I was looking for the perpetrator. His name was Mr. Fish.
Mr. Fish.
Yeah, swear to God.
So
That
I was
was his
just
name.
curious, where would you run to if you're the perpetrator on the ship?
I don't know. I think I would just try to convince the person that I was just kidding. You know
I'm
what I mean?
just joking. Isn't that a great? Yes, April Fool's late, and you fell for it.
I know, right? Whoops. I was just kidding. You could swim, right? You wouldn't have done
Yeah, you're a strong swimmer, you. Don't worry.
And it was such a devastating April Fool's trick. It wasn't even April 1st.
That's how great it was. It could be used all year long. That's that one. All right, Dr. Cole, where would you like to go after Mr. Fish tried to throw the unwitting victim over the side of the boat? Where would you like to go next?
I found this headline very odd because I didn't know what it was. So I actually clicked on it because I didn't know what it was. Swatter.
Oh, I know
in
what swatting is.
Yeah, you need to. So why don't you explain this? 'Cause
Swatting is over video games. So if you don't like somebody and you find out where they're from and stuff, and let's just say there's somebody you don't like that you play online games with, you can call the police and actually have a SWAT team, like say, there's a man with a gun in that house. And the SWAT will show up and kick their door in. And of course, usually it's a prank is what it's meant to be. If somebody you don't like, you have them swatted, right? Well, this one evidently went swatting wrong.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Unreal. So, yeah, there was a guy named Tyler Barris, 26 years old. He pled guilty to 51 federal charges related not just to the Fatal 911 hoax, but also to bomb threats against the FCC and FBI headquarters
Jeez,
earlier that same month, which resulted in sort of other swattings, I guess, some of which led to building evacuations. I mean, I don't understand.
They better put that guy away for a long.
Yeah.
It's this whole internet mentality, and I would refer, at least slightly anyway, tangentially, back to the picture, the Sieg Heil picture we were referring to earlier, where it's not real somehow. If you know someone through online means, if you're a gamer, if you're playing games with them, those relationships, the existence of those other people is in some way hypothetical to people, because they couldn't behave the way they do or do the things they do to people if they thought they were genuinely real people.
Yeah.
It's so odd. I mean, I guess I didn't really think about that sort of stuff, before I began my career with, working with law enforcement. But it's like, now I think about something like that, and I see guys getting suited up just to do cell extractions, like a mini sort of SWAT extraction team. And then I've actually helped train SWAT teams out here. And just knowing the guys, and a few of the women that I have helped train doing SWAT, it's really scary for them.
Yeah,
it's scary for them.
Yeah, they don't know what they're walking into.
No, you don't know what you're walking into. And most of the time, if it's a SWAT situation, it might be like hostage, situation where people are very jumpy, very much on edge, very trigger happy. And those guys all want to go home to their families too. Yeah. So it's a terrifying situation.
And this guy, you said he's 26?
Yeah,
that's
26.
A little old to be doing swatting
I
jokes.
agree. It was only a few years ago, so he would have been like 23, I guess, maybe when it happened or initially.
Know better. Yeah.
And it's like, how can you not think about that? Like, they are just, I don't know. I don't know how I guess he said that the person that was killed, that he was holding his family hostage. That was the story that he gave them.
They'll get SWAT to show up.
Oh man!
Yeah, so then they killed, of course, the person that was being swatted, right? Yeah. And so it ended up deadly. So it's homicide by cop at that point.
Correct, and so I guess the police responded. One officer shot and killed a man named Mr. Finch because the officer said he didn't comply with the commands to keep his hands up, and it turned out that the address was a fake. And Finch had nothing to do with the online gaming dispute at all.
Wow. Okay. So now the cops killed a guy because he couldn't keep his hands up, which that's going to be problematic down the road for him, because then the police opens him up to civil liability, the polies.
Yeah, potentially, but in a SWAT situation, you generally think that the person's bad.
That harkens, that harkens back to that Arizona where the guy said, "Put your hands up." He wanted to be a contortionist. And he couldn't do it, so he shot him anyway. Yeah. So anyhow, that's just horrible. That's just horrible news. And I keep looking at the top one that you have here, and my eye just keeps going to it. The religious zealot thing.
Oh man, this is weird. So, religious fanatic jailed for 10 years. This is in Australia for convincing his wife to end her own life.
So he convinces his wife. Why would he want his wife to die?
He wanted his wife. So Graham Robert Morant, he's 69 years old. He's kind of a self-styled religious pastor. He convinced his 50-something-year-old wife, Jennifer, to take her own life so that he could use her life insurance to build a bunker in preparation for the rapture.
Oh. That old yarn.
Well, that's not convoluted.
No.
I know, I'm so confused.
So
A to B to C to Q to Z.
So this guy, this religious leader, I use that term very loosely. He convinced his wife to end her own life. Now, did he help her, or he just planted the seed in her head? I mean,
It said that he did assist her, but it doesn't say exactly how, I don't think, in the article. But mostly it was just conversation. Like, just
you should just go ahead and
her.
kill yourself. You know,
yeah.
Do it for the greater good. God will reward you when you get up there. Just do it, because we need the money to build a bunker for something that may not happen. But hey, what the heck? Let's get it done anyway.
I mean, man, if I'd been her,
well put.
If I'd been her, I'd be like, okay, you're 69, I'm 56. Guys typically have a shorter lifespan. If anybody's building this bunker, it's me. So,
well, he wanted to hire contractors.
I see. Okay, that
they're
makes
expensive.
it all better.
Contractors are not cheap, so you know.
My goodness, it's crazy. So there's no precedent though, and there isn't really a precedent here either. So this is, for someone essentially just talking someone into it.
Well, look at the girl over the phone though. Remember, about a year and a half.
That's true. But everything is being contested in that case because she was a minor, and so everything's being contested in her case. I don't think she's going to end up serving much more time. In Australia, they didn't have any sort of precedent for it, so he's going to serve 10 to 14 years.
Wow. So the girl, though, just to back up to do an update on the story from about a year and a half ago where she goaded her boyfriend into killing himself over the phone, she's going to get off scot-free pretty much?
Let me see if I can never remember her name.
Yeah, just kind of curious because, man, that was such a horrible story because, I mean, she was like, come on, you should just do it. Just kill yourself.
Michelle Carter. Yes. Michelle Carter. She only got 15 months anyway. And her lawyer is basically saying that, one, it was free speech, and two, she was a minor. And so some of those issues apply. And I don't disagree with that.
I don't know about the free speech. That teeters the line.
Free speech I don't agree with. But the fact that she was, like 16 at the time, your brain isn't as
that old yarn. So wait a minute. Whoa. Hold on, Dr. Cole. So you can be 16, murder a crap ton of people, and say, my brain isn't developed yet, and get away with it?
No. No.
I mean, come on. No. Let's not give anyone a legal defense for later by accident here. No, you cannot murder people and then claim that your brain wasn't developed. It will not work.
No, especially in California. You're going to get charged as an adult. Okay. You're going to do 25 to life is what's going to happen. The only thing that's going to be better for you is that you might get a shot at paroling earlier than, say, wooden box.
Okay.
That's because you were a youth offender, but that's about it. No, it doesn't get you out of any sort of culpability. And I feel the same way about the kids in the photograph. There's a lot of impulsivity in youth. There's a lot of bad judgment in youth. Your brains aren't developed yet. But that being said, one was a crime and the other is just flat out hate speech and applies to large groups of people.
But
how great.
But we wanted to put those same kids, not to argue with you, of course, I'm not trying to be argumentative, but we want to put those same kids that are doing the Zekai thing, we want to put them in front of the firing squad.
No. I just don't want them to get into good colleges. Let me be clear.
Yeah, no, I hear you. So, I mean, it's one's death and one's just bad taste, really. I mean...
Well, one is like blatant racism and hate speech, and I don't think that has any in higher institutions. I don't think there's any place for that.
Yeah, I hear you.
They shouldn't get rewarded for that kind of behavior.
Exactly.
Right?
I 100% agree with you. There should be no reward for them for doing what they did. And do I agree with the young lady getting off pretty much really light for involving herself in this murder? I think that's completely a miscarriage of justice. Using my brain wasn't developed yet defense, I don't think really should. She knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing.
She got off kind of light in the first place, but part of that was because of the fact that there isn't really a precedent for it. You know what I mean? Like there's no law on the books, essentially, that says you can't, convince someone to kill themselves. There's just nothing on the books for that.
Hypothetically, Dr. Cole, let's just say I walked up to someone that's clearly mentally ill, has depression problems, is teetering on the verge of suicide, and I just say, you know what? Go ahead. Go kill yourself. Get it done with. Why not? All the pain will be over. Would I not be culpable in some extent to that person's death?
Yeah. Oh, I think you would. Absolutely. I think that, I think maybe sort of a depraved indifference type murder or a, criminally negligent or not negligent. I don't know. Manslaughter.
Well, I'm going to turn this to the wisest man in the room, of course, the senior member of the staff. What do you think, Eric?
You man old. I think that in the instance of a sort of gentle nudge, probably they'd get away with it, because how would anyone know anyway, right? I mean, if there's not evidence of it.
This is true.
When you get beyond the gentle nudge, like say with the girl who was convicted of it, that was repetitive and insistent, right?
Yes.
Pretty much, yeah.
So that's a whole different story. And if it can be, certainly if it's documented, if it's written, if it's recorded, then that's a whole different story as well. Do I think there should be consequences? Yes, absolutely. If your actions cause someone else's death, even if it's tangential, absolutely you should. That to me sounds like manslaughter. You didn't intend. Well, you did intend. You didn't do the killing, right, but you induced someone else to do so. So to me, that's pretty similar to unintentionally but negligently directly causing someone's death. I mean, to me, those seem fairly similar. So if there aren't laws on the books for it, there should be.
Yeah, it should be like a murder through influence kind of thing.
It's very odd, and I think it's very tricky too when it comes to suicide in general, because I mean, unlike a lot of other people that do the job that I do, I do tend to agree more with the European way of looking at suicide. I do think it's more of a personal choice. I don't ever want someone to do it, but I also don't think it should be criminal. It's tough. I think we're very moralistic about suicide here, which makes it difficult for people to talk about. I think that's hard.
Is suicide a crime?
It used to be. Even in the prison system, they used to write people up
for killing themselves,
suicide attempts, for making suicide.
Oh, I was going to say, how do they serve that term when they're dead?
No, but up until quite recently, they used to write people up for suicide attempts, and I think it's very difficult when you're very, very moralistic about any sort of subject, and particularly suicide. I think Americans in general, it's never okay under any circumstances. It's a crime against nature, crime against God, and I just think it makes it difficult for people to talk openly, which is a big kind of cure for suicidality, is being able to talk about it.
There has been a huge, up in where I live, a huge just surge of suicide lately.
Oh, gosh.
And I've seen some young people, like 17, 18-year-olds doing it. And it's in the paper, newspaper. I'll check the obituary, just to look at the newspaper. And, you see these young kids, 17, 21, 25.
Well, isn't there a very strong viral aspect to it? A contagion aspect?
Kind of seemed that way, because there was kind of an influential girl that went to high school around here, and she was really well liked, and she committed suicide, and heartbreaking to everyone in the community. Next thing you know, it's like a rash of them after that.
There's a huge domino effect, is what they call it when it comes to suicides. It's like if somebody very popular, I guess, sort of opens that door, like when a famous singer does it. When you talk about like the lead singer of Linkin Park, things like that. It kind of opens doors for people. They go, well, if he can do it, then I can do it. And I think one of the reasons people are really kind of bad at at least in America, we're bad at stopping that domino effect, is because we stigmatize it so horribly.
Yeah, that person really must have been nuts. Yeah,
and just say things like, "Oh my God, that's just never okay," and I can't believe with everything he had that he
would do that. What a coward!
Yes, and that's stigmatizing. My gosh, it's like there's nothing. That's the other thing too. Like, is there anything wrong inherently wrong with thinking about it, with having those thoughts? No, of course not. Most people have had those thoughts at some point in their life. And if you haven't yet, statistically speaking, you probably will. I hate to say that, but
yeah, most of us
people go through it, at some point. And there's nothing wrong with it at all. And the more wrong we make it, the less able people are to talk about it, but the more likely they are to do it.
Well, I personally have struggled with depression many times in my life. Yeah, and there have been times where I have, just a peripheral thought, just a really quick, fleeting thought is, man, it'd be a whole lot better just be dead.
Oh, definitely. I think, I have too. I have depression and anxiety and OCD and, just a whole lovely cornucopia of things. And I mean, I've definitely had thoughts like that at times in my life that have been particularly hard. And there's nothing strange about that.
So you're not alone. Anyone that's thinking that way, you're not crazy. Alone. You're not nuts. You're not alone. We all, each and every one of us, most of us, if you're a human being, a feeling, thinking, empathetic human being, you're going to have thoughts like that from time to time. And it's absolutely okay. Just don't act on them. If you feel like you need to act on them, or if you are going to act on them, reach out to a friend, a family member, police, anybody that will listen, anybody, and get that help that you need. For me, it's always been, when I've been feeling down, it's always just been friends. You kind of talk about a little bit, and that gets you through it. But not everybody has a support system. So, and if you're really feeling down and out, you can always email us up over here afterhoursam@gmail.com, and we'll definitely hook you up with help that way too. So we cannot end this without talking about the reptile shop owner busted after slapping people with his bearded dragon.
Oh my gosh, that sounds like a terrible euphemism.
It does. Here comes the dragon.
So this is a bit of an older story, but I hadn't read it and I had to share it. So there was a Florida man who was arrested for slapping employees with a bearded dragon. He's facing multiple charges. So Benjamin Siegel, the owner of Ben Siegel Reptiles
in Florida, yep,
in Florida, he was seen on tape throwing the lizard in the air, swinging the reptile around, and throwing Gatorade on employees, and putting the live lizard, in his mouth, and then hitting employees with it multiple times. Now, there's no video.
What?
So I don't know how this happened exactly.
How did he hit him with it when it's in his mouth?
I don't know, Joel.
Multiple times with the orally staged lizard.
I so want to know. I don't know. And so he's charged with battery, right? And cruelty to animals.
Bite down too hard.
Yeah, cruelty to animals. But the thing that really made this story just come alive for me was that Siegel's store had also made headlines back in 2012 after 62-year-old Edward Archbold died shortly after winning a live cockroach eating contest held by the shop.
How did he die from eating cockroaches?
An autopsy found that he choked to death after his airway became obstructed by cockroach parts.
Oh, icky.
Really?
Oh.
I mean, he could have won
a
free
tombstone. The tombstone.
I don't even know what that would say. Oh, God.
Oh, gosh. You know what really bugs me about this guy? No.
Oh, man. And I'm thinking, okay, so this shop had been cited before after holding this live cockroach eating contest that ended up killing this person. Like, did you not think cruelty to animals might be a possibility then?
Yeah.
I guess no one cares about cockroaches.
I guess not. Where are they in the hierarchy of animals?
They're not really like animals. Yeah, they're insects, I guess. I don't know.
I mean, if that were the case, we'd all be in jail for killing spiders.
I wouldn't tell anyone I did it, but I still would
sometimes I'm pretty proud when I take down that spider because they're kind of feisty sometimes.
Oh, I'm in Black Widow country. I mean, we get into it out here.
You do. It's almost like a hand-to-hand combat with them.
They're pretty big sometimes.
You're up to your elbows in Black Widows. Black Widows and cockroach parts.
Yeah. What a combination. Oh, yeah. Just like Mom never made. Good. Wow. On that note, we got to get out of here. We'll come back. We're going to be talking all things arson. Really, how arson is used in crime. It's more prevalent than I even thought. A lot of different ways arson is used. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Hi, Tom Bodette. If you can hear me, then you have an internet connection, which means you can do cool things online, like listen to streaming radio, obviously, or watch a video of a monkey washing a cat. Let your freak flag fly. Or you can book a room at a great price at Motel6.com. Isn't the internet wonderful? Everything you want right at your fingertips, and whoa, did not need to see that. I'm Tom Bodette for Motel 6, and we'll leave the light on for you.
Unexpected reactions to smart financial decisions brought to you by feedthepig.org.
Well, I finally did it. My student loan is totally paid off.
I can't believe it.
I can't believe it either. I paid more than the minimum each month, and soon enough, it was gone.
So you're just giving up?
Giving up on what?
The life of luxury. Egyptian cotton, caviar Thursdays, designer everything.
What are you talking about?
Our plan. What happened to winning the lottery and mastering the art of the perfect mimosa? Hosting galas, wearing enough jewelry to require a bodyguard, vacationing in the French Riviera, and then buying it.
I just thought maybe it was time to prepare for my future. You know, set some financial goals, make some smart investments, open a 401k.
Financial goals? Investments? A 401k? You are horrifying right now. Listen, if winning the lottery were easy, everyone would do it.
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org. This message brought to you by the American Institute of CPAs and the Ad Council.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
So me and the boys head out to tailgate today and find some other fans in our spot.
Well, it happens.
Cheering for the wrong team.
Oh, this is war.
Even worse, they've got this couch set up and everything.
A couch?
Yeah, it's sectional.
All right, first thing, don't ever use the word sectional again.
Done.
Second, I want you to grab a 4,700-pound tow chain with J-hook and grab hammer. Throw that on the back of your truck.
Got it.
Now you're going to Hail Mary the J-hook over the end of that couch. Time to find a better spot for your new friends.
That should do it.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Taking a family of 5 to the amusement park can cost a small fortune.
Oh, yeah. So to save some money, we thought, hey, let's bring the amusement park to us.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
All right. Step right up, young man. Are you ready to ride the Wacky Waterfall?
That's just the bathtub with the shower head running.
Nope, it's the Wacky Waterfall.
It's the shower, Dad.
Waterfall.
Wacky.
There's an easier way to save. To get a free rate quote, go to geico.com. Then buy online, over the phone, or at your local Geico office.
Green light. Hey, girl. School zone. I'm getting hungry. Car changing lanes. You want to meet me for pizza? Stop sign. Intersection clear. Yeah, street. Pizza sounds good. Ballin Street? Girlin Street!
It's hard to concentrate on two things at once, like texting and driving. Stop the text, stop the wrecks. How will you stop texting and driving? Tell us at stoptextstopwrecks.org. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code, everybody. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olson and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
Dr. Cole. We started the show talking about fire, and we're going to end the show, the last hour anyway, talking about fire and arson.
Yes, I mean, since we're having the fires out here, and I thought about it, and I realized that there are a lot of fires that are caused by arson too, and it's one of those things that doing what I do, I don't actually see a lot of. And so I just wanted to look into it more just to see what was out there about it.
I have an intro.
Ooh, please.
How about that?
Yes.
The drama couldn't be more real. Our colleague and good friend, Dr. Clarissa Cole, lives perilously close to the campfire raging through Northern California as we speak. She is on high alert and may have to evacuate at any moment. Rampaging wildfires might be the new norm in California and elsewhere as the consequences of climate change come home to roost. But this fire was accidental. What of those that aren't? My brother's home in Lake Elsinore, California, was nearly destroyed earlier this year by a fire that was set deliberately. Staring fire directly in the face, Dr. Cole is addressing the heinous crime of arson on tonight's episode of After Hours AM, The Criminal Code. And I turn it over to Clarissa.
Amazing intro. Thank you, Eric. That's so sad to hear about that, about, the Lake Elsinore and it being arson. It's so hard to fathom, this idea, because fire is so destructive and so uncontrollable. I think people think that once a fire starts, the fire department gets there and it's just out. But do any of you, you're not old enough to remember, but do you remember hearing about the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire?
Not real. I vaguely think I might have heard it somewhere many, many years ago, maybe 20 plus years ago.
Yeah, it was a fire that it was the deadliest to date at that time in 1911. It was the deadliest fire in New York City. So it caused the deaths of 146 garment workers who died from fire, smoke inhalation, or falling or jumping because they started jumping out of the windows to get away from it. The doors to this factory, I guess, were locked, so they could not get out. They were essentially sweatshop workers.
Captive workforce.
Exactly. And so it was a terrible, very destructive fire in New York City, and they didn't really see another really deadly one for many, many, many years until 1990. In March, there was a man named Julio Gonzalez. He was kind of down on his luck. He'd been working at a lamp factory, and he was renting at a boarding house. He was 2 weeks overdue on his rent. And to add insult to injury, his girlfriend, Lydia Feliciano, had recently broken up with him. And so the day before, he'd approached her at this place called the Happy Land nightclub in the Bronx, where she was working as a coat check girl. And just incidentally, Happy Land nightclub was co-owned by the man who was Kathleen Turner's husband at the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's weird.
Yeah.
It is weird, isn't it? It's because it was a small place and it was unlicensed. And the reason it was unlicensed is because they had a ton of building code violations.
Ah, right? Yes, that old yarn.
Yes, one of them being that there were no fire exits and no sprinkler system. So there was one entrance and exit to this club. One. And it was down some stairs. Okay. Mm-hmm. So, you're packing 100 people into this club with one exit in or out. I don't even care about fire. I don't want there just being one exit,
Right.
To a place with that many people. So anyway, this is all sort of building up. So this is 2 years prior. So in 1988, they got these violations, but the fire department and the, building code inspectors never followed up with them. So they never shut down and they never fixed anything. And Julio Gonzalez, who was the ex-boyfriend of the coat check girl, got very upset that she wouldn't go back out with him again. And so at about 3 a.m., he was seen arguing with her near the coat check. And as he's leaving, he basically said, yelled at her, "I'm going to shut this place down for good." And nobody thought anything else of it. At 3:30 a.m., he comes back with a can of gasoline and a match. And he only got just to give you an idea, $1 worth of gasoline. That's it.
Wow.
At a nearby Conoco gas station and a match. He poured it on the stairs, the only entrance or exit, lit the match, threw it, and walked away.
Damn.
God.
87 people died in the blaze, with only 6 escaping, and of the 6 survivors, his ex-girlfriend Feliciano was one of them.
So the one person that he wanted to get revenge on survives. Survives doesn't mean that she isn't traumatized and probably didn't suffer some type of injuries.
Some type of burns. Yeah, I think that everybody was injured. And the scene, I guess, most of the people, I guess, died from smoke inhalation, but they tried everything they could to get out, including some of the patrons tried before they passed out from lack of oxygen, tried to create a hole between the walls of the club and the adjoining room, and they didn't make it.
And that's a horrible way to go. Asphyxiation from smoke. Oh,
the heat, people burned. And so, they came in and seeing, claw marks on the walls, people trying to break through to another room. So 87 people with $1 worth of gasoline and a match.
That's the thing. A lot of times in fires, thankfully, the smoke kills you before the fire actually reaches you. But still, there's no pretty death in that scenario at all. I mean, there's no easy way out on that one. That's horrible. And then to be dying as you're trying to fight your way out and get out of there to safety, or at least to another room where there was more room, to, a potential for escape. Now, tell me that this guy got the death penalty.
He did get life in prison. He literally got something like several thousand years or something, because they compounded the sentences. Sure. I want to say he got 2 sentences for each person or something like that. And I do believe he has since passed away. I do not think that the perpetrator is still alive, if I'm not mistaken. I'd have to look here. But yeah, he admitted to doing it. They found him like not long after, because Feliciana was one of the people that survived. So they questioned her, and because she survived and mentioned, she didn't know either. Mm-hmm. But, because she mentioned, I did have an argument with my ex-boyfriend. They went, following leads. Yeah. And when they found him, he there was gasoline all over his clothes that they found in his hamper when they found him. And then he admitted to everything that he did. He died of an apparent heart attack in prison.
Mm-hmm. Man, Clarissa, it makes you wonder why. I mean, the guy's done his luck. I hear you. I mean, why, though? I mean, obviously to get the revenge on the woman, but come on, lighten up the joint like that? Is
it possible people just can't see through? They can't see through to the next few steps, the consequences of their actions. It's as if the world stopped when you threw the match down. Is that possible? How can people justify such things? It's just so bizarre to me.
It's interesting that you say that too, because, I think, Eric, that he, because he did admit to it right when they found him. I wonder, if that wasn't sort of the case with him. That it was this fit of sort of rage, that he had. He had $1 in his pocket. He goes to the Conoco station, which is right there, gets a can, $1 worth of gasoline, pours it on the steps, flicks a match down there, and then it just goes up, and there's nothing you can do at that point, aside from, call the fire department or something. And I mean, he goes home, and then it sinks in what he did. So there are 6 types of arsonists, supposedly, according to experts. And I didn't know a lot about it. I had to research it before I wrote this up, right? Sure. The most prevalent type, I guess, of arsonist is the revenge type, which Julio Gonzalez falls into that category. Joel, you said, jealous. And revenge. He wanted revenge on Feliciano. And for everything, though, not just her breaking up with him, but for him losing his job, for him, about to lose his place of residence. They are often pretty easy to catch, I guess, because, like what you were saying, Eric, they don't take these steps to sort of cover up what they did. Mm-hmm. It's just, Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Impulsive.
I'm surprised he stayed
Acting
around.
out.
Yeah, I'm surprised he stayed in town. I would have thought for sure he would have fled the city, and having nothing there to hold him back, being late on rent and everything else, and knowing what he'd done. I'm kind of surprised he stayed around.
Do people?
Go ahead, Joe. Go ahead.
Do people ever have such a disconnect that it's like, well, I didn't do it, the fire did it. Don't blame me, it was the fire.
I've definitely had people say things like that. I mean, I don't see it quite so obviously. I guess what I see most of the time, and I mean, I'm talking like a lot of the time, this is extremely common, is that the gun just went off. Is what I
I was holding it, and the damn thing had a mind of its own. Next thing you know, it went off.
The gun just went off, or it was an accident. It accidentally discharged or whatever. And I try to be gentle because I know that a lot of that is just sort of denial, or maybe they can't come to terms with what they did. Yeah. But I usually try to, if I think they're in denial, sort of gently remind them, well, you did bring a loaded weapon.
Yeah, you brought the knife, you brought the gun.
To the situation, and then you introduced that weapon by pulling it out, and you cocked the hammer, so like there were a lot of things that you did before that would, that couldn't just happen on their own. But disconnect, absolutely. Yes, I see it all the time. All the time.
Nothing escalates aggression like a presence of a firearm.
No, exactly. But there is that disconnect, though. Like Eric, what you were talking about, that disconnect of like I didn't do it.
It was the fire.
The devil made me do it. I mean, that's not that far removed from that statement too. So yeah.
It practically is. I know I wouldn't be surprised if somebody who was setting fires did. What I could see them saying is, well, I set the fire, but why didn't they escape?
Yeah.
I can see that. Yeah. Where there's sort of this disconnect. But like in the case of these revenge arsonists, that being like the first type and the most prevalent type, that is so terrifying because exactly what we were talking about, it just seems like they're not thinking ahead at all.
No,
I mean, it's not a whole lot of steps forward to fiery death and destruction. I mean, think. I don't know. It just seems like you'd have to be willfully blind in order to be able to do something like that, and to not see the consequences 2-3 steps ahead in your mind. If I do this, then this, and this will happen. And I mean, it just seems like that must not have happened unless this is, just one of the most evil people in human history. But I don't know. Maybe he was.
I mean, it certainly does almost seem that way, given that he put the gasoline on the stairs.
Yeah, knowing that
he
was
could
the
have
only.
Gone down to, no, and he, because she worked there for a while. He knew it was the only entrance and exit. He'd been there many times. He could have taken the gas can down to the coat check and thrown the gas on her.
Yeah.
And not that would have been okay, but you know what I mean? Like that would have been more targeted, more specifically revenge. Like to me, it does seem like he knew what he was doing. He didn't want anyone to get out. No one.
You would think, though, between the act of buying the gas and getting the container, you would think that you would come to your senses. Whoa, what am I doing here?
You would think so. Yes, you would think so. You would hope to God that somebody would have that realization. But I don't know, like, think about it in less extreme acts. Like, can we dial it back a notch a little bit? You're going to have to help me out because being a woman, I actually don't understand this as well. But like, have you seen guys in like bar fights that you've been friends with?
Yes. Yes, I have. And in fact, I've been in a bar fight or two.
Yeah, like explain, isn't it similar? Do you feel like it's similar at all?
It
like
is.
Like they don't realize what they're doing could result in
it's a flashpoint. Yeah, it's normally a flashpoint that happens, and next they're beating on each other. But there again, alcohol's involved.
That's true. But there could have been here too. He was a drinker. You know what I mean? There could have been here. Like often there is, in cases of arson, there often is intoxication, either drug or alcohol. So let's say that's a component there too. Like if you go off in a bar fight, couldn't you just as easily kill somebody accidentally?
You could, but all the ones I've seen or even taken a part in, which is very few. It's not like I'm out there bar fighting every weekend. I used to be a bouncer in a nightclub, believe it or not. I'm a pretty big guy. I was always a football player, so I was, pretty big guy. And I actually worked at a nightclub very similar to what you're describing here, except it was a legal nightclub. And I had to break up my fair share of lover disputes. And they get very heated very quickly. And I could see this guy getting angry like that because I've seen people like that in the heat of the moment. It's amazing how it goes from cool, calm, and collected to flashpoint in seconds. And you can't really predict it sometimes who's going to be the ones to fight, but there they are. They're beating on each other. But generally, once you have them outside and they realize that they're just beating on their buddy, they go, oh, man, what the hell is I doing? They shake hands and they go down the street talking about it. A lot of times.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, you used to do music all the time. I'm sure you've seen some.
You used to be in bar fights all the time. Yes, I have seen many a bar fight. I have actually been in one or two.
That's right.
But not. I wasn't a willing participant. I was just sort of cut. But from the stage, I have seen many bar fights. And usually, often, there's one guy, and he's got a chip on his shoulder, and, he's kind of poking around, seeing who may be amenable to
throw down, yeah,
participating, and then that leads to it. And sometimes it's the biggest guy there, sometimes it's the smallest guy.
In my experience, though, being a bouncer, I would say 7 out of 10 times it was the little guy.
Yeah, I believe it.
That was the instigator. Yeah.
Yeah. So. Yes, I've seen it, and it's a combination of all the things we're talking about. It could be someone who actually is looking to be beat up. Mm-hmm. That's really ultimately what you're talking about. It's kind of like a suicide by cop thing, where if you really think it through, that was the ultimate goal. Someone who's just really aggravated. Maybe they have problems within themselves, they have some self-esteem, whatever, and what they're really looking to do is get beat up. Well, what's the easiest way to get beat up? Start a fight.
That's true. That usually does the trick.
I mean, so it's sometimes things like that. Sometimes it's, it's a relationship problem, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, that kind of thing that starts it, and then other people get involved. Sometimes it's something relatively minor, but people around think they need to be all super tough guy. Mm-hmm. I'll protect you from, that kind of thing. That's the one sort of fight that I've been in the last 20 years. That's what it was. I was all super drunk, just an idiot. But I saw one friend of mine picking on another friend of mine and said, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't pick on him, blah, blah, blah." I mean, it was just rolling around.
Next thing you know, it's a rollicking fight. You got bar stools flying everywhere. Eric smashing the other guy over the head with a beer bottle.
Here's where we were rolling around. In the back of the van as my wife drove home. We are fighting. We're not fighting. We're rolling around wrestling in the back of the minivan.
Wow.
With my wife driving home, and oh my
God, in a minivan of all things.
Wow!
The next day, we both felt like such total idiots. We actually went to each other's houses to apologize because it was so retarded. Oh my God, it was dumb. And everyone around is like, "Oh my God, this is the most stupid thing I've ever seen." And the guy who was being picked on was like, "No, you don't have to defend me.
Yeah.
No, you don't have to do that. You don't have to do that." But I mean, we were both. You know how it is. You're in a frame of mind.
Sure.
For whatever reason, there's something negative. There's something something gnawing at you. And then you drink too much. It doesn't take much.
But as a bouncer, though, I gotta say, working that profession, I did that for like 4 years. I gotta say, women, by far, were more apt to fight usually than men were. That was so weird, and I hated it because
I don't go out
because they fought dirty. You see, the guys were pretty much throwing punches. No, not girls. They're gouging, kicking, spitting, biting, whatever they could possibly do. And as a bouncer, sometimes you'd be in that. I learned to use wear an athletic cup pretty early on in that career.
Oh yeah,
yeah, because
easy to get caught up.
Yeah, they're pretty free kickers.
Festivities.
Yeah, they're pretty free kickers. So I learned that right away. But women, believe it or not, have us guys beat in the aggression department quite often, and they are. Let's just say guys don't want to fight women because they do not fight fair all the time, and women are tough. I'm telling you, women are tough.
I mean, first of all, why would we fight fair? I'm thinking, because we are smaller and weaker. But no, I have not ever had that happen. Knock on wood. Don't want to.
I watched this lady one time when I was working the bar. She grabbed another gal. This gal had this really long hair, like almost right down to her butt. I watched her grab this blonde-haired lady with the long hair, drag her through the whole entire bar on her back by her hair. and
that was not nice.
And kicking her in the head the whole time.
Oh my gosh, I was hit one time. I take that back. I was like, I was hit one time. I didn't fight though. It's just not me.
No. You're a lover, not a fighter.
I just asked her if she felt better now.
I was talking to my wife about this. She was blindsided once, and we were talking, when you see it on TV, even the shows that are trying to be quote unquote realistic, when you see people get in fights, it's never like what it feels like in the real world. I got punched once when I was DJing. I was at USC. I was at one of the frat houses. I was by myself. It was very late at night. I was loading my equipment out. It was the frat house opened up to a back alley. I'm parked in this alley at 3 a.m. Someone came along and punched me in the head from behind.
Oh my God.
Never even saw him. Just punched me in the head really hard, and I went down, and I hit my face when I went down. Like I said, this completely caught me off guard. Never saw, never heard, nothing. Total sucker punch. And it hurt like a screaming mofo. That was one punch and falling down on my face. You see these fights on TV shows, even low-key, quote-unquote, realistic, right? Where they hit each other 2, 3, 4 times as hard as they can. Big, strong guys who know how to fight hit each other in the face 4 or 5 times. You could kill someone.
Yes,
easily.
you could. Yes, you could.
Kill someone.
I mean, just to, that's the whole point, though, right? Is that you could. You could kill someone.
You could. Really. You could.
Like even you falling down and hitting your face, which I am sorry, that really sucks. But like, couldn't you? I mean, Eric, what if you had fallen into something with a sharp corner?
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
I felt I was flattened.
Ton of bricks down on the ground.
Just boom down, hit my face.
And if you hit in just the right way.
And you're stunned. That's the thing. That's what they don't show on TV, right? A person gets hit, they just go yabbity yabbity yabbity, and they're right back in, and everything's okay. No, you are stunned for many, many seconds.
Yeah,
if you get hit in the head,
it's dangerous. And most of the people I dealt with as a bouncer, they had no clue how to fight because, well, A, they're inebriated pretty good, and B, let's just face it, they're not mixed martial artists here. So was it like there's a whole lot of real punches being landed, a lot of hugging going on.
Yeah, I mean it's a crazy. I guess all of that is sort of just to say though that you've got these cases where like Julio Gonzalez, where arson is what happened, but I do feel like the impulsivity is kind of the same. I mean, I feel like there's lots of people that get in fights on a maybe even fairly regular basis that could result in someone's death. And actually, there was one. I can talk about it now because I think it's been adjudicated. There was one up at a club when I used to live up in the Shasta area in Reading, where that exact thing happened, where a guy started a fight with another guy, and he fell just wrong into like a chair or something, and he died.
It's just not that hard because you're talking about the head and your brain's there, right? And it's just like you say, it's just falling the wrong way, hitting it the wrong way, hitting it on the wrong part of your head. You have vulnerable spots on your head.
Yeah, it was like kind of toward his temple, and it just that was it. You like, and the funny thing, not funny, the horrible thing about it, they had the video of this because they're security cameras. It's in seconds. It just takes seconds because it was the same sort of thing. You sort of sucker punched the guy. The guy goes down, hits his head. He dies. Now the guy is up for second-degree murder because it was intentional. He went after him to a certain extent, not to kill him necessarily, but that's what happened.
That was the result of the attack. That was the result. Death. Yeah.
And I think about these arson cases and I'm like, how is this different? Yes, they're using fire, and yes, there's the potential to kill many people as opposed to one. Sure. But it does happen. Like, okay, there was a second case that I wrote up that is, I feel like it's super disturbing personally, even though it's not as glaring as the Julio Gonzalez case. His name, believe it or not, is Thomas Sweat.
How about we go ahead and
let's go to break.
Yeah, let's go to break. And I just wanted to say really quickly, the reason why I quit bouncing was not because of the physical violence. When the gunfire started is when I had to quit, because they went beyond fighting to now using firearms, and that was where I was pretty much done at that point. So let's get out of here. Let's go to break. We come back. We're going to cover the second case of arson, death by fire. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Ranger Station, Ranger speaking.
Yeah, hi. I'd like to report a bear sighting.
Location.
My backyard.
Oh, your backyard. Try telling a bear that.
I did, and this bear talked back.
Talking bear, that's rich.
No, wait, it was Smokey Bear.
Smokey? Why didn't you say so?
I did say so.
Continue.
I was burning yard waste.
No, boy.
He told me to burn legally and responsibly, and to remember that if it's too hot to touch, it's too hot to leave.
And as always, he's right. You know, 9 out of 10 wildfires are caused by humans. That means 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented.
Yeah, I know that now.
Thanks to me.
Actually, thanks to Smokey.
As usual, the talking bear gets all the credit. Get your Smokey on. Always burn responsibly and contact your local fire department for open burning regulations. Because 9 out of 10 wildfires can be prevented. Brought to you by Smokey Bear, the U.S. Forest Service, your state forester, and the Ad Council. Learn more at smokeybear.com.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
Northern Tool and Equipment.
I got a rather serious problem over here.
All right, what are we looking at?
Cranky mother-in-law asleep on the couch in the man cave.
Dear God.
It gets worse.
That's impossible.
She's passed out on the remote.
I stand corrected.
What do I do?
Okay, I want you to grab a Torrent Big Red hydraulic bottle jack.
Okay.
Now you wedge that bad boy in under your mother-in-law and crank her up skyward.
It's working. Got the remote.
Great. Now grab that Torrent Big Red 2-ton folding shop crane and put that woman on wheels.
And away we go.
There's no problem a little horsepower can't solve. Northern Tool and Equipment.
Welcome back to After Hours AM, the Criminal Code. I'm your host, Joel Sturgis. Right along with me,
Eric Olson and
Dr. Clarissa Cole.
And Dr. Cole, why don't you go ahead and give that information again, because you gave it once at the beginning of the show again, where people can call in and get more information about loved ones, and also, I suppose, to report that they are safe. So with this fire going on, and again, you're also located darn near in the epicenter of the fire. I mean, you're on the outskirts of this raging wildfire in California as we speak.
Yeah, I'm about 20 miles away from the camp fire, as it's called, and there's lots and lots of missing people. And I just wanted to let you know that they've actually, the sheriff's office has released a running list of missing persons. So I'm encouraging you, if you know people that live, in the area that's affected, go and look at this list, see if you know anyone that is on it, and if you are on it, call them, let them know that you're okay. It's the Butte County Sheriff's page. So Butte County is BUTTE county.net/sheriff coroner. And if you go there, they have a missing persons list that is active. And and on the flip side, if you want to report someone missing, please go there. Or you can call 530-538-6570 and they will take your report.
Very good. Thank you, Dr. Cole, for letting everyone know that.
All right. Yes. The next case that I was going to talk about is, oh man, he is what one would term a serial arsonist. Okay. So for more than 30 years, a man named Thomas Sweat set hundreds of fires in the Washington, D.C. area. Damn. So 30 years. And he said that he set, in his estimation, he set well over 300 fires.
Wow.
So he's a true firebug.
Yes.
The classic
The classic sort of firebug. Yeah, and he had a homemade device that he used. He filled a milk jug with gasoline with a fabric plugged opening that he used as a wick. And so the fire would burn up this fabric wick, consume the container for about 20 minutes before the fumes and gasoline really set off.
20 minutes, huh?
Yeah, he had a special way of doing it, I guess, that I don't want to share with anyone, that it would allow it to sort of smolder for 20 minutes and allow him to get away if he wanted to, or to just sit and watch. And typically he was not going for casualties. So he was setting these in places where he did not expect people to be, but some people did die. And his targets were usually, this is the weirdest part, usually men that he found attractive.
Oh, so if they were cute in his estimation, he wanted to kill them. Wow.
Well, no, because then he would have set their houses on fire, and that's not what he did. He would follow them home, and instead of like approaching them and just talking to them like, a normal person, he would put an incendiary device in their car, in the driveway, that sort of thing.
And then show up and be the hero. Oh my God, it's on fire!
No, he would just watch from a safe distance, and he did this many times. And there is one time where it resulted in multiple fatalities, unfortunately. The man went home. He had a wife and kids who lived upstairs. He set the incendiary device on this man's doorstep, which was on the lower level. But the house, the door frame in particular, caught fire very quickly. And since the family was asleep, as the house started to go up, I guess the man's wife died from smoke inhalation. And 2 other elderly women also died because something caught fire near there and they couldn't get out. So they finally did catch him, and he's implicated in over 300 fires.
Wow.
That is
why?
Yeah.
Is there a why?
Yes. So again, there's the 6 types of arsonists, right? And now Thomas Sweat would absolutely qualify as the pyromaniac type, right? These are pathological fire setters. So while he did have a reason as far as setting some of the fires when it came to, an attractive man, that sort of a thing, he didn't always have a reason at all. He just found the act itself to be a sexual release, if you will, which is why he stayed to watch a lot of the fires. It was so he could masturbate at the same time.
Oh, well, that's
wow.
Yes, it's a sexual thing.
It's better still now. Yeah, that's an image I can't.
Yeah, thanks, Clarissa.
Erase from my mind.
Wow, man. So he would light fires and play with himself.
Yes, and he would stick around for that reason. He liked to see people fighting the fires. He liked to see the chaos. The ensuing chaos also kind of turns them on, a pyromaniac. A lot of times they are there watching or videotaping in some instances. We've seen that before. There's another type, the vandal type, and that type is often a teenager, and they often videotape as well.
Yeah.
They're unlike other types of arsonists. They work in pairs.
Yeah.
The thrill, sort of the vandalism, the crimes are committed sort of out of a rebellion, sort of an attempt to destroy stuff. I mean, there's sort of like the practical types, the crime concealment type, or the insurance claim type,
Yeah.
where it's for a financial motive or for a crime motive. So, this struck me as weird, though, the crime concealment thing. Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking, because my brain is twisted, right? If I'm going to set a fire, it's going to be to conceal like a murder or something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Something big. Oh, no. The most popular reason to set a fire is to conceal a burglary.
What?
I know.
That makes no sense. That makes.
Talk about adding insult to injury.
Yeah.
I'm so confused by that whole thing. Like, I totally thought it was going to be to get away with murder. And yes, that has happened in multiple cases, right? If you research that, you'll see that. But I assumed that's why they'd be setting the fires. Oh, no, it's because they stole something.
And fire does not get rid of all evidence.
No, it doesn't. Not even close. Are you kidding me?
No, they can still get fingerprints off things that have been burned, too.
They can get DNA. They can get, oh man, it doesn't. And plus, like, if you are thinking of starting a fire to cover a murder, first of all, don't. There's just no way. I'm sorry. And it won't cover it. It just won't.
No.
Like, unless there's smoke inhalation in the lungs of the victim and that's the only thing wrong with them.
The person would have to be almost, they would have to be just cremated, like nothing but ashes left of the victim, right?
Which doesn't happen, and
No,
people don't understand that. Like in a
no.
typical house fire, that's not enough. That is not going to cremate a person.
When I was a kid, when I was in high school, I almost took up the profession of being an embalmer, a mortuary guy. You know, one of them. What's the proper name? It's escaping me.
Yeah, medical examiner. Or coroner.
Yeah. And I knew the guy in my local town. His name was Keith. Really nice guy. And he said, if you're really seriously thinking about this, why don't you come in for an autopsy?
Hey,
and why don't you come in for an embalming? I'll get the family's consent, because, we still got to make sure that you can witness this, because it is a procedure and they're a family member. You should come on down and really see what you're going to get yourself into. Make sure it's what you want to do. And I couldn't sit through it, but we were talking about cremation. And he's like 2,300 degrees. These things will run at. I mean, it's just unreal.
And for a long period of time.
Yeah.
A long period of time.
Couple
too.
hours.
And they have to turn the body multiple times.
Yeah, it's not a quick thing. It takes a very long time to cremate a body.
At extremely high temperatures, the body typically has to be turned. Now, people don't understand. They think like a fire is going to do it. And I'm like, no, not even close. There's so much physical evidence left. That's the problem kind of with the campfire, though, right now, is that fire, because of the sheer, magnitude of the fire, that one is probably hot enough and burned long enough that it probably did destroy a lot of remains.
How many crimes do you think, though, in the backdrop of this fire could potentially be committed and no one ever find out because of the fire? You know what I mean?
Oh gosh, quite a few. I mean,
perfect opportunity.
If it's a fire like this, if you had time, commit all the crimes you can because nobody can see it. No, I mean, you never know what's going to burn and what isn't, though. I mean, that's the thing that is so interesting to me. I mean, there was a story today in a local paper here about a man and a wife who went back to the house to see if they could salvage anything, right? Mm-hmm. And if you've seen any of the pictures, it's decimated. Everything is gone. And they shared pictures of their home, right? Their home was rubble, nothing but rubble, and some granite countertops that they recently had installed. And the man went back there looking for his wife's wedding ring because she had set it on the counter before washing dishes.
Oh.
He found it.
Oh, wow.
It survived.
Man, because it was on that granite.
Maybe. It's like, how? I mean, that's just it. Like there were shops where almost the entire shop was burned, and then like a sign here or there is fine. It's like, who
it's
knows?
Weird.
Like,
it's chance.
Yeah, fire behaves very strangely. So if you're going to try to cover something with fire, I would say just like don't, because you don't know. You don't know what it's going to do.
Yeah,
It'll leave that one clue. You know what I mean? You leave a handprint on the French door, that glass will be there. You know what I mean?
But when I was talking to this funeral home director, why it takes so long to cremate someone, he says, remember, you're mostly water. Mm-hmm. It's actually very hard to, I mean, he says, of course, you want a graphic detail about body fat and that burning first.
I was just going to say the body. I was actually going to bring up the fat. I was like, the fat and the oils is another.
Yeah, but it was actually kind of intriguing but disgusting all at the same time. So.
I have a strange sort of morgue-related tale very quickly.
I love morgue-related tales. I'm a sucker for a good morgue.
I lived in a house when I worked at Napa State Hospital. They often at prisons, and just so if people don't know, in California and in multiple places across the United States, in state hospitals or prisons, there are often houses that were built on the grounds of those places. Mm-hmm. Because way back when people would live there, it's kind of akin to an army base, if you will.
Sure.
There's housing. And so at Napa State Hospital, I lived in a house at Napa. Just for a little while, about 6 months, I lived in a state-provided home, and there was, where you do laundry. It was like in a basement sort of area, and I went down there. And my roommate, I was living with a roommate at the time, a social worker, and she went down there and she had all of her clothes all folded up, and she was like, "Yeah, have you done laundry yet?" And I said, "No." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, aren't these tables amazing? There's all this space, and they're so nice. They're stainless steel." I'm like, "Mm-hmm."
Mm-hmm.
And I just keep doing the laundry. Yeah, I was like, she's like, "What? Why did you say it like that?" I'm like, nothing. They're fine. And she's like, "And look at these edges. Like, you like to like, what is this, to like catch lint or something?" And I'm like, "Okay, so don't freak out when I tell you this." She's like, "What?" I'm like, That would be a draining table.
Yeah, I was gonna say, did the drain in the middle of it, not towards the end, not give it away?
She did not see that, and she literally thought it had something to do with wet laundry. She had no idea. I think she rewashed her clothes.
Oh, that was probably
right?
used
a
long time ago.
Or anything.
Yeah.
And come to find out, so I knew what it was. She didn't. I told her, and she's like, "No, that can't be right." Went to the hospital administration the next day and said, "I just want to make sure that I'm right about this." And they said, "Oh yeah, during World War II, this was used for Navy for the Navy when people were injured, and your particular house was a makeshift morgue at that time."
There you go. There you go. Nothing to be afraid of. It was World War II at the time.
The mortuary parlor was where our dining room was, and the where they processed the bodies was in the basement, where we did our laundry.
Nothing could possibly be wrong with that scenario.
It was totally fine. I didn't think anything was wrong with it. Of course, nobody wanted to come over for dinner parties, but okay. That's on you.
Oh, but for Halloween, oh my goodness, that would have been...
Really quickly, though, I got a story like that. I knew people that were eating off one of those tables.
Oh, no.
And I told them, because they said, wow, this is a really big, nice, sturdy table. Nice. They were using it for tools. A place I used to, a mechanic shop, he got a really killer deal on these old embalming tables. And they work really great for tools and stuff because it's steel. Yeah, I mean, you could set stuff on it. Nice bit. Well, these guys, there's a clean one, so they're over there eating chow. And I said, you enjoy eating up embalming tables? Screw you, no way. And I said, yeah, look at the drain at the end. That was for cutting people up. Hopefully you enjoyed it.
Yeah, I know. She totally thought I was crazy. I'm like, what do you think the little like the little trough is around the entire edge?
Yeah.
What do you think that's for?
Yeah. So, well, Eric, you're going to say something before I cut you off, and I didn't mean to do so.
Oh, golly, I don't know. It's already a couple topics back. I was just, when we were talking about odd things that survive fires, I had a fire. I'm still sadly known for this in my dorm when I was at college, when I was at Wittenberg University.
The Great Wittenberg Fire of 1979?
It wasn't 79. It was probably 79, early 77 it was. Okay. And anyway, it was terrible. And it did start in my room. That's a whole other story. I was not ultimately held culpable for several reasons, including the fact that the fire extinguisher was missing.
Oh.
No.
Number one. And number two, better still, the sprinkler system for the entire 9-story building was disconnected.
Oh, did they want you to die in case of a fire?
No,
I think they wanted everyone to die in case of fire. And someone almost did. Someone who literally slept through, this was 2 in the morning or something, slept through the alarm going, over and over incessantly. Someone literally slept through it and almost died. I mean, had to be rescued from the 7th floor. I was on the 6th, had to be rescued from the 7th. With a ladder, a fire engine ladder, that only went to the 7th floor.
Oh,
barely got out in time. It was astonishing and awful, and all of my stuff was destroyed. Anyway, several days later, not hours, not whatever, days later, included in my room, as you guys know, I'm been a music guy all along. At that time, it was all vinyl. You're talking the 70s. I had, hundreds and hundreds of records destroyed. Well, several days later, at the complete other end of campus, the very, very far end of campus, I don't know how far it is really. Maybe it's half mile. I don't know. It's a ways. It was the other end of campus. I was talking to someone days later, and floating down out of the air came one of my album covers that was burnt exactly around Groucho Marx's face. So all that remained was a large cartoon version of his face. It was, his album. It was like a greatest hits kind of thing. And it literally just fell out of the sky and landed between us as we were talking days later. So why did that survive? How did that survive? Where was it the subsequent time? How did it fall from the sky in the middle of our conversation? I do not have those answers.
I have the answer.
It was one more real severe oddity about the whole thing. Yes, tell me.
Groucho Marx was your guardian angel.
He may have been.
He was just trying to send you that message. By the way, I had you there, you say.
I still have that because it was so perfectly burnt, literally outlining his face. It looked like it had been done on purpose. And that survived. And basically, nothing else did. It was a severe fire because of all the vinyl.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. And I mean, there are countless stories like that, and there are stories coming out of this area like that where people think everything is lost, and a man found his wedding ring. There's another story, or his wife's wedding ring, that she set there to do dishes, and then there's another story from up here where she thought that she lost her horse. Her was so sad because she couldn't get her horse out. The horse found a nearby swimming pool and has been hanging out for the past 2 days, but other than being cold, is fine.
Hanging out by the pool.
Hanging in the pool, yeah. And I mean, there's most people lost everything. I'm not downplaying that, but just to know that, I think I never thought I'd say these words, but with the fires down south, I think Alyssa Milano said it best. She said, everything with a heartbeat got out. So I'm grateful.
Yeah.
And that is what matters. That's what matters. Yeah. So for people that have lost everything, I mean, the memories, believe me, I hoard memories. I'm like that, I have all these, memorabilia and keepsakes, but that's not what matters in this life. It's our relationships and those we love, and don't give up hope. If you haven't found someone, it is truly devastating. Fire is truly devastating. And to think that anyone sets it on purpose, like in cases of arson, like we've been talking about, it just,
sure.
Wow. Because it's so uncontrollable.
So once again, and I don't know if you've actually run through them. What are the 6 kinds, and what's the motivation?
Yeah, the six kinds are revenge, vandalism, crime concealment, insurance claim, excitement, and pyromaniac. And it seems like revenge is the most common, but the most impulsive. So it's the most prevalent category, but oftentimes, knock on wood, except for the Julio Gonzalez case, a lot of the revenge cases are often not as destructive because they don't plan ahead, right?
Sure.
So sometimes people think that something will just go up, but it doesn't.
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's lots of cases like that where they attempt to set a fire and it doesn't catch. Thank goodness. And, vandalism, that's usually young kids, and typically that does not result in loss of life. Right, that's just kids that want to destroy something.
Garages are a lot of times
uninhabited places. Like they set a building on fire because they want to see it burn, and a lot of that is curiosity.
Or an outhouse.
Yes,
or a porta potty. Yes, a porta potty.
Yeah,
exactly.
Porta potties are always fun.
Crime concealment and insurance claims. I mean, those are other types of criminals, right? That you're worried about the other stuff. Excitement is like. That is, to me, that's very much like the pyromaniac. I don't see there being a lot of difference other than that pyromaniac doesn't always have to have a reason.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it's always amazing to me. But Eric, go ahead, finish your thought. I was just going to
say, and I think there's more of an implication with the pyromaniac that it's a serial kind of activity.
Absolutely, where they almost like it's an irresistible impulse. You remember that, hearing that idea?
Yeah.
Like it's this irresistible impulse that they can't deny, and a pyromaniac almost feels that way, like it's this release for them and they cannot stop, whereas the excitement one, I don't think it matters either way. I think they can stop.
I was gonna say serial killer and serial pyromaniac, they kind of have a lot in common. When you break it down.
They do. Yes, they do. And they both, the pyromaniac can result in death. It is this building up of tension, and then sometimes a sexual release, same as serial killers, when they set a fire. It's very similar.
And scary. Very
scary. Very scary.
Because I suppose where it's also a very intimate act, too, for the pyromaniac, because they're usually targeting things that are homes, garages, cars, stuff like that.
And they have an MO, like a serial killer. So a serial killer often has a preferred method of operation, how they like to do it. So do pyromaniacs. Like Thomas Sweat, he had his little milk jug thing that he perfected. You know, he spent time on it. He perfected it to make it work exactly the way he wanted it to work. And, you know, and he did it in Washington, D.C. area, an urban area with lots of cops. You know, he was good at what he did.
Well,
and it resulted in billions and millions of dollars worth of destruction and I think 5 or 6 deaths.
I burned down a building one time.
Oh, no.
I did. I was probably about 12 years old. And I grew up in a rural area on a farm at that time. And inside this barn, and I don't know why I did this to this day. I just don't know. Or it was full of burlap sacks, this barn, right? I was grabbing, you know, we used to use feed and stuff like that. So we keep all the burlap sacks. For some reason, my dad needed one, and I'm thinking, well, I got this cool Zippo lighter because I was a Boy Scout. I'm just going to light my way with this. And I tripped, and it fell. And whoosh! And burlap sacks go up so fast. Just incredibly fast. I couldn't believe how fast this fire was spreading. It was just so amazing. So I was the only one in the general vicinity. So I ran and I was close enough to a garden hose, right? And I'm feverishly trying to put this thing out, and it's not working all the greatest. I mean, grabbing a garden hose, put out a fire is really difficult. It doesn't quite have the flow you need like a fire hose, does. But it did get under control. I did get under control, and I didn't tell anybody. I just kind of walked away like, do. It wasn't me. And then my dad, he goes, why'd the barn burn down? What happened? I said, I don't know. He said, I shouldn't have put all that burlap together. It's kind of like putting hay together. I should have known better. I got away with it for years up until now. I'm confessing a crime right here, right now, from when I was 12.
Good for the soul. It's good for your soul.
And it was accidental.
It was.
No one was hurt.
No one was hurt.
The only fire I was ever party to was, the same roommate that folded her laundry on the draining table. Same person, right?
Sure.
Different location. She put her French coffee maker, those chrome sort of French coffee press things, fancy coffee. She put it on our stove, right, to heat it up.
Yeah.
And then she went to take a shower for some reason while she left this French chrome coffee maker on the burner, open flame burner.
Yeah.
And you're supposed to, I don't think that's how they're supposed to work. I don't know. I was
sound right to me either.
Yeah, I was asleep. And she'd done it with an electric stove, many times. But this was an open flame.
Yeah,
this was a
natural
gas stove.
Yeah.
Never had that before. And so the handle on it, which was like Bakelite or plastic or something, began to melt.
Oh, God.
And and it melted into the fire, the open flame, and then just went poof.
It
just went up. And I was coming into the kitchen right as this happened. I see it dripping off the end of the coffee maker. And then this boom, it goes up. And I'm leaping 6-7 feet into the air. There's a painting behind the stove, which has also gone up at this point. And I grabbed the fire extinguisher. I put it out. And I'm not going to name her. She comes out from her shower, and she's just like, why is all this powder all over everything? I swear to God. And I'm like, don't talk to me. This was before.
Man, I did also start a microwave fire microwaving candy corn, but that's a whole nother show.
Why were you microwaving?
I'm a stupid kid because I heard it becomes a really good syrup if you microwave it, and it doesn't.
It becomes a really good fire. Yes.
It becomes a better candy.
You know what the coolest thing you can microwave with a microwave
CDs.
is? A microwave.
Throw a CD in one of those ones.
Put a microwave in a microwave.
No, they're hard to fit.
How's that for meta?
That is.
What happens if you put a CD in there?
Oh, seriously? You get this. You get all sorts of fireworks in there, and then
don't do that, people.
It's the best way to destroy a CD is to put in the microwave. That thing will never get read.
That's the way to destroy a microwave.
Is put a CD in it.
is to, people do not set your house on fire.
Don't do that. Don't take my advice. Really quickly, Dr. Cole, can you run through those numbers again for people that are looking for loved ones that may not be accounted for?
Yes, if you have loved ones in the Camp Fire, the northern part of the state in California, you can go to the Butte County Sheriff's website, which is Butte is BUTTE county.net/sheriff coroner, and they have a easily accessible list of missing persons. If you need to add someone to the list or you need to take someone off the list, please call 530-538-6570. And, the other thing, if someone needs a place to stay out here, Airbnb in California has over 450 residences for people that are refugees of the fires listed for free. Go to Airbnb if someone needs a place to stay.
Thanks again for all the information. And everyone, pray for rain for California. They're super dry. Enough rain to get this under control. Not a deluge, but just enough to get this under control. We don't want to cause mudslides on top of having this horrible fire.
Thank you. Yes.
Until next time, guys, till tomorrow night when we talk with Eric.
Alan Roberts.
That's one of our favorite punk rockers, Alan Roberts, My Life a Misery guitarist, will be joining us tomorrow night. And until next time, take care of each other, love each other, and again, pray for rain. Thank you for listening to this edition of After Hours AM, and please remember to like us on Facebook and also follow us over on Twitter.